And now for the international business news. A halt on Russian gas supplies to the European Union could potentially reduce its gross domestic product by as much as 1.5% if the next winter is cold and the region fails to take preventative measures to save energy. And this is according to new estimates from the bloc. A draft EU document says that the European Commission is set to warn that in the event of an average winter, a cutoff of gas shipments from Moscow would reduce the GDP by between 0.6% and 1%. It is also planning a set of recommendations to member states, including reductions to heating and cooling use and some market-based measures to offset the impact of a possible full disruption by Russia, its biggest source of imports. Meanwhile, Russia's finance ministry is proposing to raise the cutoff oil price for its fiscal rule. This is the level at which Moscow starts buying foreign currency with profits on energy sales to $60 a barrel. Under this mechanism, Russia buys foreign currency with its booming energy profits, a measure designed to both stabilize the ruble and channel hard currency into the country's rainy day national welfare fund. Foreign currency purchases were suspended early this year amid sharp volatility in the value of the ruble in the weeks before Moscow sent thousands of troops into Ukraine. Tens of thousands of homeowners have threatened to stop paying mortgages on scores of unfinished housing projects that they had purchased. This was after hundreds of depositors gathered in front of the Zhengzhou branch of the People's Bank of China in the provincial capital of Henan last week to demand their frozen life savings held in rural banks. All of this happened in a week where the officials reported lackluster second quarter economic performance, and China's economy is facing a dangerous cocktail of stalling growth, high unemployment, and spreading mortgage payment strikes, as well as continued COVID shutdowns that threaten to explode with serious social and political consequences. Now moving on to Poland. Poland plans to offer households a one-off payment of 3,000 zlotys, that's $635, to help cover the rising cost of coal. And this is according to a draft bill published late on Monday, as the country faces surging energy prices as a result of the war in Ukraine. Due to the high quality of Russian coal imports, they were mainly used by individual households and heating plants in smaller towns before they were banned in April. The subsequent spike in prices caused by the shortfall has left many Poles fearing that they will be unable to heat their homes in winter. And that's it for the international news. Alphabet Incorporated split its shares on Monday. Alphabet Incorporated split its shares on Monday, and this reduced its price per share from $2,235.55 to $111.77. So what happens now, and what does this mean for investors? That conversation continues after the break. Stay tuned.
On Monday, shares of Alphabet, Google's parent company, became more affordable for everyday investors after a stock split came into effect. The 20-to-1 stock split means that its shares now hover around $110 as of now. A stock split happens when the number of a company's shares increases, but its market capitalization remains the same. Now, Alphabet isn't the first tech giant to execute the move. Apple did it in 2014, and Amazon completed a 20-to-1 stock split in June of this year. Joining me now is Emmanuel Orji, securities trader for Comercio Partners. Emmanuel, welcome back to Business Edge.
Hi, Tolulope. Thanks for having me.
So let's look at this. Typically, when a company executes a stock split, its market capitalization remains the same. It's almost like, is there really something we're gaining? Is there really something we're not gaining? But Alphabet's market capitalization is still around that $1.5 trillion. So why choose to split in the first place, particularly for Alphabet?
Okay. So this trend of stock splits has pretty much been a trend we've seen in the US market over the past couple of decades. And this is the reason for this is largely because they're trying to pretty much deepen our markets, encourage retail participation. Prior to the stock split, like you mentioned, Alphabet, which is brand company of Google, has been trading roughly above $2,000 per share. And obviously, looking at that, how pricey that is, a lot of retail investors might not have capacity to participate in that space. So them doing the stock split, the 20-to-1, pretty much just brings it down to a retail level. Also, would definitely encourage some retail participation there. And we saw how the stock rallied really after the stock split was announced, and also when the stock split happened as well. It just shows you the interest retail investors have in Alphabet, like a separate company of Google, definitely being a very solid fundamental stocks, and obviously given the numbers that they have churned out over the past couple of years as well. So I think this is definitely a good move for retail participation and also for liquidity as well in terms of how Google shares are traded over time.
So some say that this could lead to Alphabet being listed, becoming parts of the Dow Jones Industrial Average, which only lists 30 stocks at any given time, a very prestigious elite club as it would be. Do you think this is something that's overall an arching, attractive sort of end goal for Alphabet? And do you think it can also achieve this? Because we saw Apple do this when it split its stocks as well.
So yes, very possible. We saw Apple coming to that index after they also announced the stock split, and when that was done as well. So Alphabet coming to do the stock split also gives them the potential to get listed on that index, Dow Jones index. If you obviously look at the components of the stocks being listed on the Dow Jones index, you see that their price range is always within the price limit of $100 to $500 per share. So this stock pretty much just brings Alphabet into that bracket, pretty much increasing the potential or possibility of them being listed on that Dow Jones index. And obviously, given the reputation of Dow Jones index, like I said, 30 solid, sustainable growth companies are listed on this index, and investors are very keen on investing in stocks on this index, given the value proposition it gives for investors in the long term. So yeah, I think this stock definitely gives room for an inclusion in the index as well as obviously puts Alphabet into that limelight as well.
So let's look at this in terms of a recent trend we're seeing. So we've seen companies like Tesla as well as GameStop also recently announced plans to split their shares as well. And some have said that having Alphabet do this is a signal that the days of these giant tech companies or some of their domination of the markets may be coming to an end. How do you think this trend is affecting the U.S. stock markets and even tech giants? Do you see an end to sort of their domination happening now?
I don't really see it as an end to the domination. Like you said, market cap still remains the same, right? So despite the stock split, like you said, Alphabet still maintains 1.5 trillion market cap barrier as well. Same thing is going to happen with Tesla once they do that stock split there as well. So at the end of the day, to me, I just see it as an opportunity for more retail participants into that market, and in the long run, definitely help appreciate the stock as well. You've seen how since Apple did their own stock split, see how the stocks has appreciated over time as well. So I think this is a common trend we're seeing in tech stocks. After the stock split, we see some huge significant appreciation there as well, largely on the back of retail participation there as well. So I think in terms of tech dominance, I think this won't really affect it. I think this will even improve tech dominance in the US market and also in the NASDAQ as well.
All right, finally, Emmanuel, before I let you go, it was just in May, in 3 trading sessions in May, that the world's largest technology companies lost over $1 trillion in value. Now we're also hearing that companies like Google and even Apple are slowing down on hiring because of fears of a potential recession. Do you think that others should be girding their loins, getting ready for a potential recession in the U.S.?
Yeah, I think obviously given the trend we've seen over time on concerns around inflation, inflation is pretty much at the 40-year high. We're beginning to see the Fed increase interest rates roughly now around 1.75% compared to 2020 where it was close to zero. So business environment in the US is becoming tough. You can see a lot of tech companies readjust their valuations or market readjusting those tech companies' valuation to factor in the current scenarios of things we're currently seeing. So definitely in terms of recession, this is a concern that is largely based across all markets, not just in the US, but also in the European countries as well, largely given on the inflation concerns that we're beginning to see. And obviously, for a tech company to weather the storm, they will have to adjust in terms of their valuation. They have to adjust in terms of their staff hiring as well. You mentioned the fact that Tesla is obviously looking to reduce their manpower in terms of some Bitcoin countries, Bitcoin companies as well, looking to reduce their manpower, largely on the back of how tight things might be in near to medium term. So yeah, recession concern is definitely coming to our shores across the global market. It definitely just to see how those U.S. companies or U.S. tech companies weather this storm, particularly given the fact that a lot of them, their valuation has been largely based on low interest rates and also low inflation rate there as well.
All right, Emmanuel, Orji, thank you so much for joining me. We'll be watching how these play out. And of course, with a number of MPCs meeting and people looking at the Fed, we'll see what happens next. Thank you so much.
All right, thanks for having me.
And we'll keep the technology talk going on Business Edge. Crypto Watch is coming up next, and it's one you definitely don't want to mix. You need to know about the Songo coin. We'll have the details right after this.
Elvis, oh dear. Hello.
Hello, I can hear you.
So good to see you.
Of course. I suppose we're not yet recording, are
Where
we?
are you? I know you're in Lagos.
Yes, absolutely. Um,
Okay, stand by. This week, the Central African Republic will start selling a cryptocurrency called the Songo coin. The national digital currency will go on sale from the 21st of July for an equivalent of 10 cents per coin. To purchase it, buyers will have to fork out a minimum of $500, which is payable in cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and Ethereum. According to the Songo coin official website, a total of 210 million tokens will be available to crypto enthusiasts. Elvis Kolawole, the founder of Crypto Coins VIP and the host of the Money Panda podcast, joins us to discuss this. Now, Elvis, over the past 8 months, crypto assets have shed tremendous amounts of value against fiat currencies like the US dollar, the British pound, and even the Nigerian naira. In the past 8 months, the entire crypto economy has lost over $2 trillion. What do you make of the Central African Republic's decision to start selling crypto when the market is so bearish?
Thank you so much for having me today. Of course, like you did say, there's been a tremendous loss of value in the cryptocurrency market cap by lots of billions of dollars. But thankfully, as today, as of this morning, actually, we have the total cryptocurrency market cap standing at above $1 trillion for the first time in a long while. But aside that, you have to look at this with the context of the fact that the macroeconomic headwinds have not exactly been faring so well for not just the Central African Republic, but most other African nations, and indeed most of the developed world, of course. And it stems from the aftermath of the COVID-19 pandemic, which saw lots of supply chain shortages, which also led to inflation and also has a lot of side effects that definitely had knock-on um, macroeconomic effect that we are feeling right now. So in this bearish market, it's important to see that the Central African Republic is trying to attract more investors into the country and show the country as being attractive to innovation and to new ideas, just like the El Salvador did before it. So the adoption of Bitcoin has been taken in a few steps. First of all, the Central African Republic has adopted Bitcoin as its legal tender. It's also set Bitcoin as a reserve currency, and now there's the release of the Sango coin. I believe it's actually pronounced more Sango than Shango. And I do believe that this is a strategic move by the government to show that, of course, the country is open for innovation and is more forward thinking than a lot of its neighbors, and is definitely looking towards economic growth as it's outlined within the white paper of the Sango coin. So I think it is a good move, and I think it's already paying off, given that we are right here like covering the economic activities of the Central Republic, when we possibly would not have done so, and so many economic
Okay. All right.
things to be doing.
But
Yes.
there's one thing I really want to brush on just before we go. The IMF has warned countries against adopting cryptocurrencies as the legal tender. Instead, it's advised them to innovate and set up digital central bank digital currencies. One, like, what does setting up a central bank digital currency make the whole crypto prospect safer? And also, you have the fact that Bitcoin users have looked at the Songo coin plan and said it is a bit questionable. Is the country being innovative, or is it just dancing with disaster?
Well, you could always look at it from both sides. I would say that it is being very innovative because the Songo coin at its core is one of the more innovative coins out there. It does allow people to own land in the metaverse. It does allow a path to citizenship. And of course, it does allow, and as a result, it does allow voting powers to anyone who does become a citizen of the Central African Republic. And there are not a lot of projects in the entire crypto space. In fact, the entire financial markets that could boast of such great offerings that the Central African Republic is trying to offer with its Sango coin. Now, with regards to the IMF, it's understandable because they are not necessarily looking towards a scenario when so many currencies are destabilized and the known reserve currencies that are popular within lots of developed nations are undermined. By having Bitcoin as a reserve currency, that might more or less weaken the case for so many other more established currencies, such as the US dollar, to remain the reserve currency. I would say that Bitcoin is more akin to gold in the fact that it's easy to distribute, it's easily divisible,
Okay.
and more importantly, it's decentralized in its control, and that's not
All right.
exactly something the IMF is used to. So
All
yes,
right.
that's where that
Thank you
comes
so
from.
much. Thank you so much, Elvis, for that. Maybe one day both of us will be owning land in the metaverse. That was Elvis Kolawole. Thank you so much for joining me. Tolu is standing by to wrap up the show. Over to you, Tolu.
Thank you so much there, Damilola. And of course, the conversation around the Shango coin, a very interesting one that we'll be following very closely. Crypto Watch comes your way on Tuesdays, where we bring you all the latest updates on things surrounding cryptocurrency, be it from here on the continent or also outside. So to wrap things up, we'll be heading straight into NC4 to watch now. And we start in Ghana, where the National Petroleum Authority, as part of its routine exercises, has clamped down on some fuel stations that have tampered with their fuel pumps in Ghana's western region. The exercise, being led by the Consumer Services Department and the NPA, came in the wake of frequent complaints about some stations adjusting their pumps to cheat their customers in order to maximize profits. Aeroton Exploration and Production Company Limited says it has successfully shut in oil spill from the leaking well and has contained a wild well spill at another location. In a statement, the company said the spill had been successfully contained and the well brought under control following the incident in Cathorn Channel Well 15, which occurred on June the 15th. The International Monetary Fund has approved the disbursement of a $235.6 million loan to Kenya as the East African nation meets the lender's targets and made progress in addressing debt vulnerabilities. The approval brings the IMF's total disbursements to the country to $1.21 billion out of a total of $2.34 billion available under a 38-month program which was approved in April 2021. And finally, the Egyptian pound's price fell against the US dollar in the national banks to record its lowest level since January 2017. The average exchange rate of the US dollar reached on Sunday 18.82 Egyptian pounds for buying and 18.90 Egyptian pounds for selling, marking its 5-year low according to the latest data published by the Central Bank of Egypt. The decline of the Egyptian currency is attributed to the decrease in the country's foreign exchange reserves and the consequences of the war in Ukraine on global markets and commodity prices. And that's it on Business Edge today. Thank you so much for tuning in. You can follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can, of course, watch us live on the platforms we're available. Download our mobile app and take us with you anywhere across the continent and around the world. And, of course, you can also subscribe to our YouTube channel. Until next time, I'm Tolulope Adeleru-Balogun. Do have a good one.